Okay, so obviously we're gonna graph, and this one's pretty easy. What's my answer?
C.
C. Okay, but before we move on, A, B, and D are all the same, aren't they? Pretty much.
Yes, pretty much.
Okay, so you're gonna have them that are gonna look all the same. So you can't just look at the graph if your answer looked like those three. What would you have to do?
Put a graph.
Look at the table. So this one, if you go to -1, it's up at 2. This one, if you go at -1, it's up how high?
3.
Almost. 4. And 1, 2. This one's at 3. So you would have to look at the table to see which one it is. So sometimes you're going to have two that are very similar, and you have to look at your table to see which one it is. So you have to find a solid point, and typically on these exponentials, there's only going to be one of them. Okay? Okay, do number 2. So 3, raise it to the -x. And graph. And so, what's my answer? A. So this one was a little bit too easy. Okay. Number 3. Boys. Okay, so we are going to put this where? Stat. Okay, but instead of a linear regression, it's going to be exponential. And so reminder, this is your x, this is your y. Of course, x is your L1 and y is L2. Do you have to put all of them? Yes. Any kind of regression, you're going to have to put all of them. So stat, edit, and enter your points. Okay, looks like a few of you are already there. So stat, calculates, and so number 4 is linear, 5 is quadratic, and then you got cubic, quartic, and then 0 is exp, which is exponential. So enter, and I have my stuff on L1 and L2, and so your form, did I lose somebody? So stat, calculate, and 0 instead of number 4, exponential. So y equals a times b raised to the x. 0, exponential exp. And we're rounded to the nearest what? 100. So y equals 334.1. 83. And there's actually an asterisk, or you can use parentheses. 2.2 what? 5. And raised to the x. So you can use parentheses or the asterisk, either way. then
Y equals
you didn't put the correct.
49,345x minus 149,835.
Then whatever you put in was wrong.
Yeah.
You didn't do it right.
Not.
So go ahead and go to number 4 and enter. So it's there, you just can't see it. See what you put in. You did linear. Well, linear is not going to give you exponential. So you go to stat. Calculate. And go down to exponential.
Let's press it.
I let it.
Are you not done?
Oh, we've got 2 of those.
46. 0.20. 0.21.
So where how'd you do it?
Multiply that.
Quadratic. You could have a quadratic.
No, we're actually just keeping
You and Johnson, I told you. Are you
Second one?
Okay.
Will it tell you if it's linear or not?
Yeah. Yeah. Look for the word regression or line of best fit, and this is exponential. Okay, so those of you who have the opportunity to put number 4 in, let's see. So stat, calculate, and 0, and L3, and L4. And is that what y'all got?
Yes, precisely.
Okay. So y equals 47.21 and 1 point what?
1 1.
1 1
The power of x.
to the power of x. Okay. Number 5 is geometric sequence. So you have 5, 20, 40, 80. What'd you do to get there?
You're doubling.
Doubling. Okay, so which 2 can I probably omit?
C and D.
C and D. So A and B, which one do you think?
A.
A? Okay. So why A?
Because and minus 1.
And minus 1. So why do you think we're subtracting?
Because you're
'Cause-
decreasing depreciation. I don't know.
I don't know. I did not.
I think it's B.
Yeah, I think
It's A. I did. No, I didn't say wrong. I just
You
looked
might
at
be
it.
right. Let's go ahead and put B in. So 5 times 2 raised. Can we put in?
Oh,
No. X plus 1. And where do we go? Do we graph it or go to our table? Table. And so the way it works, when x equals 1, y equals 5. When x equals 2, y equals 10. So they just left off the x. Did that one work?
No.
No. And that was plus, so we're going to put in A.
Why did it not work?
It's because I'm like, you know, man. I did it.
Because when you look at your table, you don't get these numbers. So at 1, you get 20. At 2, you got 40.
Are those supposed to be the x's?
1 is supposed to be the x. These are supposed to be the y's.
Oh,
It's not how you do
Because those are what you get out. So x is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so go back to y equals and change it to a minus. And did that one work? Yes. So A was correct. And I knew that was the answer, but I wanted to show you that B was not. So if you, most of you, except for one, if y'all would have guessed, y'all would have guessed what?
Wrong.
Wrong. So is it hard to put it in the calculator?
No.
No, put it in the calculator, check it. That's the whole point of having a calculator.
I think I'm the one that was right.
You did get it right. Okay, so what's my eighth term? What's my eighth term?
640.
640. You're just looking when x equals 8. That's it. Gets a little bit harder, and I'll show you the next one.
Do you get speed?
Okay, number 6.
I didn't guess. I knew this. My hands burning so
Okay, and notice the numbers. They go positive, negative, positive, negative. How does that happen?
They switched to negative and positive.
They did. How could you do that? Could you do it by multiplying by a negative?
Yeah.
So if I multiply a number times a negative, isn't it always going to be negative unless it was positive, negative to begin with?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's always going to be the same. So if I just multiply times a negative, it's not going to help it.
Would it be B?
No.
So no, because I'm multiplying times a negative. It's just negative. But you can always put it in if you're not sure.
It starts as positive.
Okay, but let's talk about exponents. If my number that is raised, so what is a negative times a negative?
Positive.
Positive times another negative? Negative, and times another negative? Positive times another negative? Negative. So it goes back and forth. So on D, because we have negative 1/6, what's in parentheses is negative, then that is the only way it's going to change from negative to positive. Is when a negative number is raised by an exponent. And why would it be 1/6 versus 6, even though there's not a negative 6? Is the number going, disregarding the fact that it's negative or positive, is it going up or down?
Down.
Down. Okay? So if they had 6 in parentheses with a negative, it would not be it. So let's put in D, please. And let's check it. And notice I'm using alpha x on this one because I'm hoping to get my 8th term in a fraction. And negative 1/6 raised to x minus 1. Okay. And go ahead and put it in. Oops. Go to. And I must have a space. Oh.
I did it wrong.
How do you put it in?
Carefully.
What is your
There we go.
Spencer, what did you get?
I ended up with a set notation, not brackets.
It stays on 0. Oh wait, it's because of the start.
Okay, does it work? No?
Mine works.
Mine works.
Oh, mine worked.
Okay. So you don't start at 0, you start at 1. So your first term is 12,960. And so notice that the 6th term is a fraction. But what happened to the 7th and 8th?
Your decimal.
Decimal. So what do you think it did?
It multiplied.
No.
It divided.
You can't be super.
The table rounds. Okay, so be careful about that. So number 6 was a fraction, but the rest of them, it just rounded. So if I need a fraction and this 8th term is rounded, it didn't give me as a fraction. Can I use that? No. So go to your main screen. Second, quit, get out. And you're going to type this in. So 12,960. And go ahead and put parentheses because we're dealing with a negative number. And try alpha x. So negative 1 over 6. And we're looking for the 8th term. So you're going to put 8 in for n. So what is 8 minus 1?
7.
7. So raise it to the 7th.
Oh my gosh.
And then press enter.
Nicer.
Okay, did y'all get a fraction?
No.
No. What can we put to get a fraction? Math, enter, enter. So underneath alpha is math, and enter, enter. Do we get a fraction now? Yes. So our answer is negative 5 over 108. And so if we go back to the table, we had negative 0.046. So 0.046 math, enter, enter. Is that the same thing? 23 over 500?
Yeah.
No, it's probably close, but not close enough of getting the answer correct. So the table rounds. Okay, number 7. If we have the same thing on the top and bottom, what can we do? Cancel it. And what do we get?
D2.
D2. Okay, this is a review. Let me give you a minute. Do number 8. Oh, look at that. Okay, how many G's do we have?
1.
The one on top. Yeah, 3 on top. So, does it stay on top? Yeah. Okay, and Q to the negative 5. If it's negative on the bottom, what are we supposed to do? Move it up to the top. And Q to the positive 5. And why do you think I did D last?
Because
there's multiple.
Yeah, there's multiples of them. So, how many D's do we have on top?
6.
6 and 3 on the bottom. So, how many do we have in all?
3
3 where?
on the top.
On top. And so D to the 3rd. What if you put it in a different order? Would it still count it right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just be able to recognize it. That's it.